Oh, we didn't even say happy birthday to Michael.
That's all right.
Happy birthday to Michael.
Why, thank you.
Muting every single channel. I mean, it's kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
that's true. Yeah, if you're in a bunch of channels, good
And
luck.
then if you get a direct message, it still makes noise too.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's the really. I'm just checking all my settings. I feel like if you should be able to set, like, they turn on their little streamer mode, because I have OBS open and it detects that OBS is open. Hey, does that maybe mean that I don't want you to be like making beepy booby noises all the time? And it's like, no, definitely. Exactly, dude.
There
Sad
we go.
clown horn. That's exactly how it is.
They added a soundboard. Okay, well, I mean that's good, probably.
There is a big button in the settings that says disable all notification sounds.
I have that pushed. It doesn't do anything.
Andy is just like the SFX guy today. I don't even know what to say to that.
There we go.
All right.
Bang it out. They say it like they say, right?
Could put video games in here, but do we even need to? What even is it?
You know what I should do real quick is plug in my phone and have it farm Yanlong while we're talking.
There you
go. Welcome to We Were Gamers. This is episode 390, I think.
Yeah. I numbered the last one, so I know.
Wow. Good job, me, remembering that off the cuff. I really want to pat myself on the back for that. But as you heard, that's Andy.
I'm here.
Back from assignment. And Michael over there.
Hey, everybody.
Did we all get our scripts or from the NFL before this podcast?
I'm still waiting on my PSYOP checks to clear, but I'm sure they're coming. Did everyone enjoy the game? I mean, how could you enjoy 3 extremely boring quarters of football punctuated by a surprisingly entertaining halftime show?
Yeah, the halftime show was definitely nostalgia for people of our generation.
I think I had a revelation several years ago when they had the halftime show in LA that was produced by Dr. Dre. And I was like, oh, I have entered the demographic now that people are pandering to.
It's not Mick Jagger or U2.
Right?
And obviously it had been trending that way, but they did one several years ago that was Prince. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's before me. But also I get it. I understand his music. He's very popular, well loved, a generational guy. And then when that one hit, I was like, oh, no. I am now the target demographic. And it's not bordering on me. They're aiming directly at me.
Yeah, we've got about 10 more years.
God willing, we have that long. Hopefully the world doesn't devolve into the Spice Wars or something before that.
I just meant of advertising.
Taylor will see us through it.
I just meant advertising. But yeah, if bananas
there's going to be the ad, there's going to be the ad wars, there's going to be the water wars, there's going to be the spice wars. It's all coming. Don't worry.
I mean, if bananas are $10 by then.
Shoot, man. Is that the Parks or no, the Arrested Development joke, right?
Yeah, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10.
Yeah, but the XKCD things this week mathematically says we have 100 years before they're $10.
Banana. Yeah, but you know what? The way some of these things are going, I don't know if I would bet on it taking that long.
Yeah, his inflation calculation was based on normal inflation.
Right. Not the inflation needs of greedy capitalism. So I don't know where I'm going with any of this. But you guys enjoy the game? I had regardless of whatever the outcome was.
Michael got to see me hope for about 8 minutes that I was about to get $600, but
it was so close. We were all pulling for you.
Man, I noticed when that happened, like your numbers were like so close.
Yeah, they were there. They were happening. All San Francisco had to do was play defense and win the game.
Unfortunately, though.
Yeah, but how many years now is that in the last 5 that all a team has had to do is play defense against the Chiefs?
It's
And
like,
not just like
I don't
not
understand.
just like the Super Bowl either. Like in every playoff game,
Yeah.
feels.
It's like they get mentally tired as much as physically, and they just completely forget that Mahomes is just gonna run it. Like, I don't know. I think it was Tony Romo even that was like, it was 4th and 1. What play did you think they were gonna call? Why did you let him run up the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, everybody in the building knows on a 4th and 1, it's a Mahomes keeper. Like, what are we doing?
Well, so actually, I do want to push a little bit back on that. I know they don't frequently run like the tush push style keepers.
No,
that team.
No.
But yeah, he does do it.
It's always it's a draw. It's always a draw.
Kind of thing. Yeah, like a RPO draw kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You're correct though. It is.
I mean, they're probably better for not relying on tush pushes. Even if they don't get outlawed, they're gonna have a quarterback that can play for another 5 years extra.
Yeah, that's certainly a concern, I imagine. Not among the owners' minds, though. I'm sure the owners are looking to ban it just because they find it distasteful in terms of ratings or something.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like by the end of the season, sort of everyone had figured it out, and it was like, okay, this isn't actually like as great as everyone thought it was at the beginning of the season, right? So that's kind of how it always goes.
Fair.
Yeah, someone rolls something out and everybody takes a while to figure it out, and then we're back to status quo.
That's a great transition, Michael. Speaking of taking a while to figure things out and eventually getting back to the status quo, Andrew, you have finally caught up with Michael and I in having read a book that I think I read in high school.
I mean, it would have come out around then. I think it was late 90s.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't high school. Maybe I didn't read it until college. But so you read those. Did you finish the books all the way before you finished the show?
We're talking about His Dark Materials, the books by Philip Pullman.
Yes.
So
His Dark Materials trilogy.
The trilogy. I have not read the compendium story about Lyra when she's in Oxford learning to read things and having another adventure.
That's fine.
Oh, you read that one too?
No, I was going to say that's fine that you did not read it.
Oh. I started season 1 and we talked about on this podcast how I had read book 1 and I was about to read season 1 or watch season 1, and then they started retooling how the story was going to work. And I was like, I should probably stop because they're in another world and doing all sorts of things that I haven't seen. Spoilers? I guess we should warn.
Spoilers for books from the 90s.
30 year, almost, 20-year-old book. Let's round up or round down or whatever. 20-year-old books. So I stopped and I finished the books before watching the rest of the show.
Okay. And now you have completed both.
Which puts me ahead of Michael, I think.
Wait, is that true? Michael, you didn't watch the last season?
Oh, I haven't. I've only watched the first 2 episodes of the first season.
What are we doing here?
But I've read the book so many times. It's fine.
It's all right. There's not much that changes. I mean, there's a lot that changes, but I honestly, after watching the show, think that it is like one of the best examples of how a show can become a second draft.
I totally agree with you, Andrew. I was going to say it is a great adaptation of the books, right? They didn't try. They tried to remain true to the stuff that was important, and the stuff that wasn't, they're like, all right, like what if we get some more screen time for these people over here, you know?
Mm-hmm. Season 3, especially towards the end, is a bit of a mess of just like, is good and bad, and people are fighting, and no one really knows what's important, so they're fighting over nothing, and war's bad, and it just sort of, it just kind of was like, we need to skip a lot of this stuff, like about, I mean, she does find her death, but like the rest of the story around, you know, how like she went to the underworld and figured out how other people were hanging out with their deaths, and like the symbolism of the fact that now she knows her death is around her all the time. That stuff kind of falls off pretty quickly. The religiousness doesn't get dropped, but definitely like the once Coulter, once they escape from that little inlet island or whatever they were hiding on.
Yeah, that little like hideaway house.
Yeah, the hideaway house. The religious stuff kind of falls behind, right? Like I don't know.
The show definitely doesn't go as hard against organized religion as the books.
No,
right?
and it leaves off a lot of it starts to leave off a lot of the backdoor dealings, and like how the different, it definitely doesn't go into like, okay, well, this consistorial court is like better than the oblation board, and this one is like actually has more power, and these people are vying for power, and all that sort of stuff is just kind of like, well, in the books it's just kind of immaterial actually, so maybe we just leave that out.
Yeah, it's like you could see they like, if they wanted to do a different show, right, than the one that they made, and they wanted to make like, you know, a Game of Thrones style like political intrigue show, that show could be there for them in those pages. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to tell the story the books tell, and you kind of got to leave that stuff behind in the TV adaptation when you don't have time, right?
Yeah.
I had to go back and like really look at pictures of all the characters, because it is really amazing towards the end of that show how much older they make everyone look. Like Lyra's the same actress, but she looks like a kid, a straight up kid at the beginning of that show, and by the end you're like, huh, she's a grown woman. How'd that happen? It's symbolic, right? You know,
there's also several years in between the filming, but 100% it is them like, you know, makeup and clothing and, you know, doing the Hollywood, well, I guess BBC, I don't know, anyway, whoever doing the like, you know, intentional letting them grow, you know.
Yeah, and just like the like, I think that Michael, you said in the books, Mary's story kind of drifts off, and like in a book it's actually kind of fun to read about the Mulefa and their stories and the things that attack them that are kind of like seagulls and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's out there.
It's out there. It's really out there, and it's whatever it is in the books. I'm not really quite certain. In this one, she just sort of picks up a piece of amber and is like, "Oh, I can see dust."
Yeah.
And you know, they take away the like weird body geometry from the books where like the legs don't match up with anything that would actually make any physical sense for evolution, and they just have the animals have 4 regular legs. And skip a lot of that story, and then just sort of like jump back to her every once in a while to remind you she's just sort of waiting around for Lyra to show up.
Which, I mean, is what she's doing in the books, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not wrong, but you know, you get all this other stuff to sort of keep you engaged with the character in that world.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like her story is just a lot of inner self-discovery, right? She's in her head a lot of it, which doesn't always translate really well to a show.
It doesn't in the show, and they do a decent job, because in a show you can show a character being introspective by showing a flashback. So like you had to understand in the book that Mary's journey was for her to start to think about her life and be ready to tell the kids these stories, so she could quote unquote play the serpent about like introducing them to the concept that they could love each other or whatever. And so she has to introspect about all this stuff in a book with herself as a character, versus like when she's telling a story, you can just, what they do is flash back and be like, oh, look at this instance where she, went to a thing and discovered she might not want to be a nun, and here's why. And
four chapters is 30 seconds of screen time, and now you have to do something else, right?
Which is, I really think, very much to the advantage of the show in some cases.
Yeah, it lets them then explore other stuff, right? Like other, not just aspects of the story, but like other things going on with the other characters that we didn't necessarily get to see as much of in the books, right?
Yeah. Poor Lee, man.
They did him dirty twice.
Yeah.
2 times. Oh, they don't get a fun ending like they do in the book. They just sort of fade away. Like in the book, how they go fight the specters. All the spirits can go fight the specters before they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen. It's very loosey goosey how that battle works at the end.
They freed him. It's good.
Yeah.
Well,
the witches are fighting the specters and the angels, and there's like a bazillion witches, but there's also only like 3.
Yeah, they never really told us how many witches there were, which is they definitely play around with.
Yeah. I liked both. I think that the books have more reusability. Like if I wanted to do something, I'd go back and read the books instead of watching the show, probably.
Yeah.
Especially because the show gets kind of bogged down in the Chitagatse area with the character they used to replace what's his name, Charles. I think his name is still Charles though, but he plays a different role. Anyway.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about, Andrew.
Yeah.
It's I think I agree with you there.
I think it's good though. I really do believe like Game of Thrones could have really learned something as a show, right?
By watching the ending and then seeing how you end a show, or
and then really reworking like a lot of things. I don't think people would have tolerated removing and rearranging as much as this did. Like they really rearranged a lot in the first, well, maybe the second season even more than the first.
They sort of if you take the peaks and valleys of the first 2 books, I would say they sort of take a like flattener and sort of flatten the first book and the beginning of the second book into each other and then roll it out like a fine pastry, And I don't know really kind of what they do for the second book and the third book, but it's definitely, there's a lot of combining that's happening early on, and then I guess later they don't they sort of follow the story a little more, I guess.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but maybe you see it differently. I think Lord Asriel is the least explained, least pitiable character of all time.
I mean, they definitely never really they never show his cards, right? You're never quite sure what he's doing or what his ultimate motivations are.
He just is heck bent on destroying the authority. He has no moral compass that I can discern. He has no motivation to be doing what he's doing other than righteousness. I don't get it. I don't get what he's supposed to stand in for. I had a really tough time, especially when you get an actor like James McAvoy to jump in and he's like got no backstory. Like he clearly didn't have like a backstory. And he runs around like a Looney Tune sometimes, and then he's not in season 2 at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really strange.
It is wild in the like, you would think Asriel's motivations and as like the stuff that Asriel is doing would be like one of the things to add more to in an adaptation like this. And they just don't. I just wonder, is it like maybe the author didn't have that and like didn't have a plan for it. Had obviously had ultimate plans for the character.
I think a lot of the book is based around the idea that you're gonna experience stuff as Lyra or Will experiences it, right? And so like when you jump back in and you see Yorick Bjornsson later on, and you're like, "Whoa, what happened? Why is the kingdom moved? Why, what's going on?" You're kind of taken aback by what has happened to them. And I get that a little bit with Azrael in the first book, but then by the third book, you're supposed to be like following what Azrael's doing, and he has all these crazy machines he's inventing every 3 seconds, gyrocopters, and he's like jumping between realities,
machine, the intention machine, and all that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I still liked it. I just there's some unevenness, and I don't think it's just from the show.
Oh yeah, the books are the thing that struck me the most about the books when I read them was like what a critique of religion was going on in the third book. Like he does not lay it like he lays it very plain, like what he thinks about organized religion, and obviously I saw it as allusions to Catholicism, given that's the tradition I come from, but it's entirely possible he's just laying it on all organized religions there.
I really think that these days, I mean, it's structured after Catholicism, but these days you'd probably lay it at the feet of evangelicals more than Catholics.
I think you can. I mean, I think his critiques probably apply to organized religion as a whole, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I haven't read any interviews with the author, but I feel pretty confident saying he would agree with that. And the show doesn't necessarily carry all of that spirit. No one wants to go to a theology lecture. But yeah, I think they're good. I think it's books people should read. They're good stories and fun reads.
So Andy, I'll apologize in advance, but I think to round out the last of your experience, you have to go back and watch the movie.
Oh, really?
The Golden Compass movie?
Just to see. You were saying that it felt like an experience where they used the TV show to be a second draft of the books.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the TV show is a third draft.
No.
And the second draft they got wrong.
Well,
I think I think the first movie was a rough draft, and then they didn't let them edit it.
Look at this cast.
That could be. Oh, I know.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Andrew, that movie. I saw that movie at the time.
Ian McKellen.
I know. You think like that works?
They got 2 Ians in here. Ian McShane.
I saw the movie at the time, and I just remember going like, "This is so weird." Like the whole way through. Yeah.
Man, the Google questions, if you type in just Golden Compass, are why didn't the Golden Compass have a sequel? Is this the Golden Compass 2? Is His Dark Materials a prequel to the Golden Compass? Is the Golden Compass part of Narnia?
Wow.
Tell me you don't read books without telling me you don't read books.
A lot of bad questions in a row.
I feel like that last question, if you held a magnet near C.S. Lewis's grave, you could generate electrical sparks with how fast he's rolling in there. Because that is just like, man.
Wow.
Theologically, like the opposite, not even the opposite corners of the building, like opposite sides of the country.
I can't even make it up, man. You can't make it up. That's crazy.
Kids, go reread the Chronicles of Narnia and then read these books, and then think a little bit, and you'll see they're not really very alike.
Might be on HBO Max, so that's where I streamed His Dark Materials from. It shouldn't be a hard find.
Yeah, the show is worth watching, right? I think people that are fans of the book should totally watch it. Yeah.
I think if you don't want to read the books, you'd be fine just watching the show. There's not that much that changed.
And it explains enough, right? Like, we talked about all the stuff that was missing, but like they give you enough to give you a good story for what they're telling.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, there's some other stuff that is a big story. And because you know what kind of podcast this is, you know what we're going to talk about next.
Not video games.
Wait. Are phone games video games, Andrew?
I think so.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about phone games a little bit because there was an update, and finally it has brought back, I think, one of the things, an update for COTC, we should say.
The black screen, the black start screen's back?
No.
You're talking about Champions of the Continent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The black start screen is not back.
Why do they hate my eyes? I spent thousands of dollars getting them repaired for this beautiful sightseeing adventure for the rest of my life. And now they want to sear my retinas with another laser amount of white screen brightness.
We can only hope that when we get to Solistia, they go back to dark. I don't know.
Please.
Hopefully they give us something.
Yeah.
Please.
Let us pick,
Oh,
Yeah, sure. There you go.
It.
However, an update came in, and they got back to one of the things that I think has been lacking recently in this game, and they put out another arena champion. You guys, I have really liked all the arena fights.
They are fun puzzles to solve.
I don't like Largo. I like the rest of them.
I didn't like Largo very much either, Andrew, to be fair with you. But you know what? I soldiered through, and we got it. Didn't win any awards, certainly. Didn't do that race at the time. But now there's the new champion, Hammy, and there's the new race. And I want to hear, have you guys undertaken it? Do you have interest in it? What's your plan? The strategy and stuff for the arena has been like some of my favorite stuff in this game.
Yeah, I think I was a little surprised when they first announced the race that the top tier of it was unlike the previous arena races when they first come out. The highest tier was to win the fight with a mix of 4 and 5 stars.
That's usually they don't usually have a condition for 4 and 5 stars. It's usually just like time based, right? Like win in X turns or something like that.
Yes, that is what it has been in the past when they have released a race with a new arena.
I wonder, do you think they're worried that they're power creeping themselves so hard that if they just did time, like everyone would be able to do it?
I think part of it with this fight, just the way that it's structured, is that it's not as much of a fight that's going to drag out, because the HP pools of the 3 characters you're fighting against aren't, any one of them is not as big as the previous arena fights, right?
Yeah, I mean Largo has like what, some ridiculous millions, 2 million or something, like some really
So
high number.
much.
Mil and a half that you have to chew through, right? And that's going to take a lot of turns. And so the trick to that is figuring out, how do you skip a phase and how do you chew through that big number? Whereas with the Hammy fight, you can actually take out Hammy herself pretty easily. That's not the game of this fight.
Yeah, like if you line up all your nukes when she's broken and not covered, you can just like you could annihilate her like from the face of the earth. It's not hard. Like 2 or 3 really good sized nukes in one of her weaknesses, and she's probably just dead.
Yeah, but if you do that first, things are going to go sideways for you really fast.
Yeah, so the mechanic of the fight, for those who don't know, is a Hammy is there, but she is backed up. I don't know. They're in front of her, covered by 2 additional fighters. One is sort of like a physical based fighter. One is sort of a magic based fighter. And the gimmick is that they're constantly protecting her, right? So you can't just get at Hammy's HP and shields.
Got it. I haven't done the fight yet, and all of this is valuable because I lack what has become an essential part of the game, apparently, going forward, which is Tatlock.
I disagree the essentiality of it, but I think there is a factor that her strengths line up very strongly with this fight, in that all the characters are weak to fan, and 2/3 of them are weak to wind,
Right.
which happen to be the zones that she plays in.
Yeah, and Harley's not a great alternative, let's say.
He's not the worst, but he's not the best, let's say, for sure. If you want to bring wind nuking, I'm sure if you have Odette or something, you would much prefer to be doing that, right?
Yeah, I don't have her either. I got Tiki and Harley, and I got the B
I've
roster.
seen people have said they have done the clears with Tiki Len and Harley, and the like non-Tatlock and non Sonya Bargello rosters. So it must be possible. I think Glossum is used quite frequently because he has AoE fan attacks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he has a one hit, but it also it knocks down physical defense. So it's a pretty good. Yeah, it's a good use case.
And of course, Primrose EX is just like unbelievably good at everything. Her debuffs,
especially in this fight where she has lightning moves and both of the ads are weak to lightning.
Similarly, your boy, your boy Cyrus, also very good for that same reason. He has a bunch of lightning moves, and sometimes it is really beneficial to be able to. Of course, Bargello hits both Dagger, who has one of the ads has a Dagger weakness, and Wind, who the other two ads have wind weaknesses, so you can see why he's really useful. And I think the thing that I really had to learn after doing the fight a few times and sort of getting my butt stomped was that sometimes you don't always need to be pumping out maximum damage. Actually,
I don't know about that.
This fight punishes you if you try to do that.
Oh no.
So there are mechanics that develop later in the fight, right? Just like all these things as the fight goes on. There are mechanics that develop that will, if you hit the wrong person with the wrong sort of attack, they'll counter you, right?
Okay.
And it's all very clearly said. It's like, they'll get, elemental counter or physical counter or whatever. And so then you got to be, especially if your characters are faster than them, that avoids that problem to some respect, right? You'll go before they go. You'll see their counters go up. Then next turn, you just don't do that. You're good to go.
Right.
The problem is once as the fights go on, sometimes your speed decreases for various reasons. Your buffs wear off, things of that nature. And then it's like, well, now I have to be really careful that these people acting here at the end don't get got.
Yep.
And let me tell you, Andrew, after my clear, I was telling Michael, turns out that my strategy is not the most stable, let's say.
Not repeatable, huh?
I have not been able to repeat the clear
oh no.
on video, which is important.
Oh, double no.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, it's a big problem. Also, like there's 150 rubies if you can clear her the first time in the log, which is the same difficulty as the arena. So I want to do it anyway. I mean, it's rubies, right?
I have to say I'm happy with them.
February for that.
21st.
Oh, we have another week. I have to say I'm very happy with them continuing to do these types of things. I really wish they would do them monthly. Give us like an achievable thing to do monthly that just isn't game related. Like I get it when Hammy comes out or a tournament comes out or a new thing comes out that they're going to give you in-game rewards to do the thing or whatever. But like this idea of, hey, show us that like people out there are playing the game and doing fun things, like trying to beat, like at this point you could probably be like, hey, do Tiki Len with all 3 stars, like that's not a thing in the game, but they could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go nuts.
Yeah, I wish they would do
especially
more of this stuff.
Especially some of the older fights. I bet that they could be like, show us how fast you could do Gertrude or Tiki Len, right? It's like I bet some of those fights could be over in like 3 turns. 2 turns for the people that spend tons of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool. I'd want to try it.
Yeah, Glossum. I know Glossum was down to 2 turns months ago. I saw
I,
a 2-turn Glossum clear several months ago.
I saw a 3-turn Ritu this morning.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I think it was a marked GEP, so it's not even that bad. You probably have the characters.
Yeah, the other thing that came out in this update, which I think has been overshadowed by the Hammy tournament, is they added a bunch of EX fights for some of the harder characters, and then they also added another floor on the Elite Tower. Haven't seen a lot of people moving on that.
Yeah, I don't think there's the same urgency because there's not the reward tied to this one that there was to the other one. That first fight had 1,000 guide stones tied to it if you beat it in the first month that it was out, 3 weeks that it was out.
I didn't.
Oh,
I'm
right,
really
right.
having a tough time motivating myself on towers. It's just the load times are so long. They're so repeatable. It's just
The
it's
Elite
tough.
Tower is just one floor, man. You don't have to load in and out of that a bunch.
Yeah, that's true.
But the other ones, I get it. Yeah, I'm not good at continuing to do all of them.
Yeah, my complaint with the Elite Tower is the same long-standing one about saving teams.
Oh yeah.
Right, I can't save a loadout
Yeah,
and just swap it in when I'm ready to take on a fight.
it saves your one team, but you need more than one team to get through those.
Yeah.
Whereas at least the job tower is like saving the team makes sense. You're only going to have so many of a single class, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head over here, but yeah,
Yeah, but the job one, you make the team and then you're done, right? Like if it can beat 5, it can generally beat all the others.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's a bummer that you need like 4 or 5 teams to beat the Elite Towers, and they don't give you any way to set those teams up in advance or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which you need to do because you can't like accidentally use the wrong accessory on the wrong person early, and then it's not there for your later team when you need it, right? At least that tower doesn't reset, so you really can just grind it out week after week after week if you want, but it is pain, my friends. All right. Well, we have belabored the COTC to death here, folks. Thank you for coming on that little journey with us. What else we got going on in the world of phone games, Andrew?
Oh, I tried to play Apple Arcade I was on my phone a lot over the last couple days. I was like, try this Apple Arcade out again. I'll go back and play that Shinsekai Metroidvania game I talked about a while ago and see if it was any good without a controller because I didn't have it with me. Turns out Apple Arcade is pulling a Disney Plus on us, and they delisted stuff, and I still had Shinsekai kind of installed on my phone. Like there's an install but offloaded some files button to save space. Mm-hmm. And no, just doesn't run. Even if you could download it again, which you can't, they just it's not available anymore, which is weird. It's not exactly Apple Arcade exclusive because it's on the Switch, but it's also not available on Steam or iPhone or Android or anything else.
Wow. So they really just had some kind of deal specifically for some amount of time with that service, and then it was done and they pulled it, huh?
Yeah, or Apple pulled it or whatever to save money. I don't know like what's up with that and why it got pulled. But it makes you wonder about like big name games like Fantasian or other things eventually just sort of not being able to move to other services. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a concern. There have been a couple of those Apple Arcade exclusive games from the early times that have shown up on Steam, at least I've seen. I know Grindstone is on Steam now.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know about all of them. can't keep track of what all of them were, right?
Right, yeah. And I can't find anywhere out there that's talking about it coming to Steam or any news or anything. It just seems to like Capcom has just been like, no, it's gone. And we're done with that. Like, oh. All right, Capcom.
I think the like rotating library stuff and the, loss of things on platforms, and services is like that's kind of a topic these days, right? I mean, movies rotate in and out of your various Netflixes and Hulus and stuff all the time. That's just sort of the way those things work.
Yeah,
Game Pass adds and deletes things all the time, right?
sure.
Or
A
maybe they
lot
have
of
like a
those,
cadence. I'm not sure, but
yeah, a monthly cadence. A lot of those make sense because they're on other services, right? Like it's not like they're just offlining stuff. Like that's why I called it the Disney Plus move, right? Because Disney Plus just took Willow away. Disney vaulted it. Boom, gone. It's not like it's gonna go to net. Well, it could. It could go to Netflix. Maybe that's a way they think they could make money later. Send it off to other services. But
I mean, that's been what Max has been doing recently, right? They have taken shows that they've created for that
yeah. So Band of
platform and have
Brothers
just
is on Netflix.
Yep.
and they've memory hold them, right? Though, like some of their animated shows are just gone now that you can't find anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely.
So it's sad to see the service that you at least liked the first time you tried it. I remember.
Yeah, I think it was one
Following
of those
suit,
things
yeah.
that I thought could be high value to people that want to play on their phone, but eventually to me it became kind of low tier in terms of what you got for your money. It's not very much money per month. They upped it, I think, to $7 a month now, and it's part of a lot of people. I think get the overall iCloud, like Apple. They just have an Apple One service thing, right? Just like overall,
Buy all Apple
buy
stuff in
all,
one thing,
buy the
basically.
increased storage space, buy the music app, buy the this, buy the that for a monthly flat fee, and it includes arcade, which is cool that people would be able to just play a lot of high quality games for free. But I don't know that I would seek it out as a service as a gamer, right?
I gotcha. Well, it's a sad end. Hopefully the service continues to be, or does some good stuff in the future. But
Yeah.
I know you weren't here last week, Andrew, but I have to get your opinions on what seems to be me being back on my bullshit
Okay.
because I'm playing another Yakuza game.
I listened to the podcast last week. And,
Okay.
it makes me
And-
continue to think, why have I not started in on the Game Pass thing of playing all the Yakuzas?
They're
Bro,
right there.
Yakuza 0 is one of the best ones too. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, let's see.
Just like running around that town in the 80s and like grabbing handfuls of money and throwing them into the air. Like, what a great, man, that game.
Let's see.
Then you have to like rip off your shirt to fight people in the street because that's what you do.
I don't see. Yeah, 0 is on here for Game Pass. I see Like a Dragon, but I don't see the new Like a Dragon on here. I have to sneeze. Hold
So
on.
the most recent one, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, I don't believe is on Game Pass. I
Oh.
believe all the others are.
Gotcha.
So there's Yakuza 0 and then Yakuza 1 through 6, and then Like a Dragon colon Yakuza, which is 7, and then Infinite Wealth, which is 8. Let's see the.
Well,
infinite
what
sign
about the
is usually on
man
side.
who lost his name or whatever?
I don't know if that is or not.
Is
It is a
it
side
called
story.
Yakuza Gaiden, or is it Yakuza's Like a Dragon Gaiden?
It is called Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's on here too.
Okay. If you search for Like a Dragon, you should be able to find those 2 or 3, whichever ones are on there.
What's the order nowadays?
If you're going to ask me what order you should play the games, I think there's 2 options, right? Either you play in the quote unquote release order, which doesn't exist because you can't play the original versions of those those games, like
You have
from
to
the
play
PS1 and the
the
PS2 or
remade
whatever.
versions, right?
Right, and the remade versions do have allusions to stuff because they're fan service a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Um, so you would play like Yakuza Kiwami 1, Kiwami 2, and then probably 0, and then 3, 4, 5,
Oof.
6, or something like that. They would
Okay.
go in that order. If it was me redoing it from the start, I would probably start with 0 and go straight to 8, like just in order.
Just take it as the story comes.
Yeah, you don't need to do the one in like Old West Japan, and you probably do want to do the man who erased his name, but it's not strictly required, I think. Of
Yeah.
course, now we're talking like 400 hours of RPGs,
I have time
and
for that.
No, sure.
Oh, okay. While you're at it, though, you may want to get into the Trails games.
I was gonna say that sounds like about 3 Trails games.
Yeah, you're on the order of the time on the Trails games. I will say 0 is a longer game, but Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2, the story is relatively short. They are not long games. You could easily finish those 2 games, like the main story parts of them, pretty fast if you wanted.
I think
Under
that I'd
20 hours each, probably.
I think I'd definitely prioritize this over Trails. No offense to the Trails likers.
Oh, no. It's just the joke that there's like so much in those games.
Oh, I know.
The nice thing about the Yakuza games is that, or in the Like a Dragon games, is that so much of it is side stuff. It's like, do you want to get like good scores on all your karaoke songs to get more points? Well, like, yes, obviously. But like, do you actually need to do that in order to continue the main story? Absolutely not. Do you need to buy every real estate item, in order to make the most money for your corporation, to fight the 4 kings of real estate, to do, all the like weird side quest stuff there? Totally don't need to. But it's fun. And like those battles are cool and the items you get are really sweet. But like the main story is completely like, off the side of that. And, they kind of are like, oh, I should go like, come back to this later. That's like code for go do a couple side quests and come back, So I really think people would like those games. So I hope that you do get into it eventually when you have time, Andy.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to speaking of getting people back, did you hear Hearthstone's trying to get people back? In the most,
I saw they put out a thing. They're like, hey, it's our anniversary. We're doing a thing.
Do you know what the thing includes?
No.
They're retooling the core set again, and cards like Leroy Jenkins are back.
They redo the core set like every year, so that's not like necessarily that interesting. Although bringing back Leroy is a clear appeal to the old people.
Yeah.
That is very funny. Is it literally like we're bringing back all your old favorite cards?
Oh yeah, it's things like air totems and fiery war axes and all the things that like they had so much trouble balancing.
Oh, cool. That's like gonna be nice and balanced, I'm sure.
Yeah, this many years later.
Well, you know what? Maybe the world of Hearthstone has been power crept enough that those things aren't as destructive as they were, right?
Right.
I'll tell you, the world of Magic the Gathering has been power crept that much. If you really want to like go down a rabbit hole, like they have power crept the crap out of every card you thought was good in the past. Except for like, your Black Lotuses and your like 2 mana take another turn spells. Like other than that stuff that's just like was a mistake to print in the first place, they have power crept the crap out of every creature and spell you thought was ever good in Magic at this point.
I think
so
that game can only continue on if they continue to power creep themselves out.
I think they have gotten into, not to turn this into a Magic the Gathering podcast, but I think Wizards of the Coast has got themselves to a point where like no one is going to buy the new cards unless they're super powerful. That's a dangerous zone to be in, because now that they're doing like Universes Beyond stuff, where like they're doing Lord of the Rings sets, they had a Doctor Who set, they're doing all this kind of stuff. They're not going to be able to keep moving numbers like Lord of the Rings did unless they're really juicing it. Like the
Right.
people that are there for Magic the Gathering, part of Magic the Gathering, aren't buying the cards unless they're bangers.
Mhm.
So it's you wonder, is this the whirlpool before the death spiral,
The reset button.
Yeah, I wonder what they do. So, all right. I'm sorry you had to witness our depraved cardboard musings, Michael.
Oh, that's quite all right.
If folks want to get at us, though, with information about their own depraved cardboard musings, where can they send that?
They can send that to podcast@weweregamers.com. Tell us how Wizards of the Coast can get themselves off the treadmill.
Maybe tell Wizards of the Coast, too, 'cause I feel like they might need some good advice.
Yeah, they could use the help.
We don't need your help, but we do always appreciate good advice. So if you got some of that, send that to us, too. We're on social media, but, find us out there.
Yeah, or leave your advice as a comment on one of our YouTube videos. We always appreciate that.
That is it for sure. Engage, hashtag engagement on all that stuff, like, comment, subscribe. I don't have a good outro.
I thought of mine too late, which was engage with us like the internet wishes Kelsey had engaged Taylor Swift.
It's too soon, though, right? Like, that's...
People like that don't have to get married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
If anything, like,
probably shouldn't get married.
Yeah, financially, right? It seems like a risk for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think normies like us understand what it would mean to be married for them.
Yeah.
So
the tax code is
just take it easy, everybody.
Fickle mistress. So, hey, get your taxes done. It's about that time.
You got time still.
Okay.
At least
well,
2 months.
When it's the week before the filing deadline and you're complaining, Andrew, I'm gonna point you to this podcast here.
It's only a problem if you owe them money.
That's a fair point.
Is this Christian Horner thing actually going to blow up into something? I really don't want off-season F1 news.
Andrew, bro, off-season F1 news. Friggin' Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari. We kind of like missed the boat.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's not going to come.
He's not moving to Ferrari for a whole nother year. We have a whole year to report that news.
Sure. Yeah. I don't think the Christian Horner stuff is going to turn into anything. I think it's going to be he's going to issue some kind of apology, and they'll dock him a week's pay or something.
It doesn't sound like it was
being
like
a billionaire.
It doesn't sound like it's one of those things where it's like,
It's all weird because it's following, clearly it's someone in the UK or something, because it's all following UK weird rules of they're not reporting the names, they're not reporting what happened, they're not putting the story out there, which is what would happen if this happened in America. So it clearly is, who knows? I don't know what it is. It's clearly something's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you that I don't think it's going to turn into anything. But yeah, F1 testing starts in a couple weeks. Next week, maybe? And the first race is the week after that.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it started in March.
I think we get racing the first weekend of March.
Oh, okay. So it is March. That's 3 weeks away.
Today is the 12th, and February is a short month.
Stop it.
It's almost time for baseball again, too. Pitchers and catchers report the end of the month.
Yeah, Bahrain is March 2.
Yep.
Jeepers. Does that mean I got to
basically.
Do I have to re-up my F1 subscription? I think I do.
If you want to watch those races you got.
I may not. I may wait to see if it's like I did last year. I just bought it the weekend I actually needed it, you know?
Yeah, they don't run sales on it too frequently anymore, I think, so you're probably safe to do that.
Yeah.